Holiday Inn. I'm here for a conference on a group called Age Well at the hospital. And we have a speaker, and they're going to feed us a beautiful lunch. And probably about 10 minutes, a bus from my little town's going to come up and pull these people in. They're busing everybody in from around the state for this conference at the Holiday Inn. So, just thought I'd say hi.
So they raised us right in the middle so that I-40 could connect us. The beautiful thing about meeting you, Teresa, is that I said one thing and we found the connection. But it only happened because I introduced myself. It only happened because I extended a hand of friendship and I said, hello, my name is, what's yours? Thank you very much. We are simple creatures. We are, you look so natty.
Hi, it's Jane with Scraptastic Yarns Podcast. Today is Tuesday, March the 26th. This is the last week of March. Woohoo! I'm seeing robins, chipmunks, all kinds of critters. So, I think spring is finally here, even though the temperature has not caught up to spring. I want to welcome everyone today. Welcome to my new subscribers, and welcome to those who have remained with me. I am a little bit on the wacky side, not everybody's cup of tea, and I know that, but I appreciate you sticking with me, seeing what I have to say, crazy old lady. Now, I'm going to get into some finished items, but before I get into some finished items, you'll notice I started the video off with where I was last Thursday afternoon. I had gone into Williamsport, Pennsylvania. The hospital has started a new program, UPMC. It is called Age Well, and this was their first really big event. They had a speaker. Her name was Susan Ross. She is a theater instructor, teacher, professor at Penn State in the State College, Pennsylvania. But what she was here to talk to us about was basically staying awake, staying aware, but more importantly, it was about the connections that we have as human beings. When she does her presentation, she does not stay up at a podium. She walks around the room and engages the audience. So even if you're sitting in the back row thinking, oh, nobody's going to see me here, she may very well come out and talk to you and engage you. It is about communicating with others, being aware that there are others around you, and opening up and making some connections. As people get older, they tend to close off, and a lot of people do not go out and socialize anymore. So this is basically what this was about: getting out, being more social, making new friends, because I have a dear friend who is 96, and as she always told me when I first met her, became very close with her, she would tell me, Jane, you need to get some younger friends. You're like I am. All of my friends were in their 60s and upwards when I started going out and became more social. She said, I've seen most of my friends pass away. You need to get some younger friends. And Giselle is very loving. She was a French war bride, so I loved listening to her stories about how she was a French war bride with the Second World War. And so it was very interesting to hear her stories. But I had told her I don't mind having older friends. I've always believed I've been more of an older soul anyway. I'm not a friend who chooses friends according to their ages. I have friends that are younger. I have friends that are older. Do have a lot of older friends because that's mostly what I socialize with right now. And, you know, it doesn't bother me one bit or the other, although I don't like seeing my friends pass away and move on. And with that, I'm going to say I have had a loss in my family in the past. So, communication is very important to get out with not only with your family, but with friends and other people around. So I would recommend that you go out and make a new friend this week. You never know, you might have some things that are in common. So, yeah. Now we're going to get to some finished items. But I also wanted to talk about this. I did the Chubby Bunny, and I will show you that in a moment. And I used the Bernat blanket yarn, and this was the small skein that's 5.3 ounces that you can get at Walmart very readily. You can see how much I have left over. I can probably do not quite another full bunny, but probably pretty close. And here's my Chubby Bunny. Now, I have to tell you a little story about this Chubby Bunny because I had this idea. I read the instructions, but in my head, I had this idea that the inner part of the ear had to be pink. So I had to find a light pink. Well, no, you can do the whole bunny in whatever color you choose. And I chose white. And for the first time in my life, I did not have pantyhose. And Valerie uses pantyhose to hold the stuffing on the inside of this. So get you a knee-high or a cheap pantyhose that you can cut up. So I had to wait to finish my bunny to go get a pantyhose. But in that, I got another acquisition. Because, I thought I had to have the pink for the inner part of the ear. And I couldn't find a light pink. Just plain light pink like this. So we had stopped at AC Moore. And they had the macaroons for $5. There was only one of these with these shades of pink. So Jane got it. So now I have a macaroon that I don't know what to do with. Maybe I'll make a multicolored pink bunny. You never know. And I did finish my persuasion shawl. I believe I showed you that last week. I am not going to show you it in its fullest until Lou releases that pattern. I enjoyed doing the pattern. I'm doing it in a worsted weight as well. It calls for a DK weight, but I'm doing one in a worsted weight, which means I probably won't do as many rows as the pattern calls for, but that's okay. And then I have a finished item. This was Laurel's springtime shawl, and it is asymmetrical. And I did that in red, white, and blue. I am entering it in the locale that Debbie, the Canadian crocheter, and Karen of Homemade Happiness. Blank! It just went blank. Those are some finished items I have, and a little baby hat. Now, we're going to discuss that brown object that I had last week. I had a couple of good guesses. One was that it was a horn. No, not a horn. 2 is that it was a Bigfoot. Not Bigfoot, but as much as I love Bigfoot, I should have done Bigfoot. 3 was a teddy bear. Not a teddy bear. And 4 was a chocolate bunny. It's none of those. But I am going to show you something. And you'll notice the title of this is When Amigurumi Goes Bad. I'm going to show you the talons. I'm not happy with my talons because I couldn't get to my black paint. So in my mind I thought I would use little duckling tape for the black on the talons, because with this arm I can't reach to get the paint to paint the talons, and I wasn't bright enough to wrap it with black yarn first and then start the yellow. And those are the talons, but this is what the item was. And do not laugh. I understand he's a derpy eagle. This is an eagle. I just need to finish doing the legs the way I want them done. And you use wire and, wrap that kind of stuff. This is a pattern that it's written in a form that I'm not used to, so I had a little bit of trouble with it. But Thomas and I, my husband, have decided we are calling this the Derpy Bald Eagle. And this bald eagle, where we're at, we live a few miles from Bald Eagle National Park. And this area is well known for bald eagles. There is a fellow who does a lot of picture taking of bald eagles on a daily basis. He's world known for those pictures. And anytime you go out to the Bald Eagle National Park, if you sit on the shoreline, you can watch the eagles, and they are massive. Everyone thinks that they're very small. Eagles are pretty big. Where we are at the fire hall, many times when we're sewing, we can see eagles land in the tree behind us. We'll look out through the window to watch them because it's so fascinating. And what they're doing is they're dipping in to the creek to get fish to eat, or ducklings, or goose, or cat, or a dog, because they're pretty big. So I chose to make an eagle, enter him into the locale as well. He is a little dorky looking here in the face. We have decided that he is maybe inbred or just stupid. I did not have yellow beads. I couldn't find them. I know I have some, just couldn't find them. So I just made a little knot for the eyes and then did the black around the eyes. And of course, like I said, when Amigurumi goes bad. So that was, my effort. I told you, little dorky. I did have a question about what is behind me, and that there is a welcome sign that is one of those garden flags that you put out in the yard. Ground's not soft enough for me to put it into the ground yet, so when it gets soft enough, it'll disappear. But that's what that is. Let's go to Whips in Progress. This is the shawl that I have been working on. And this is 2 skeins of the candy shop. And as you can see, it's not very big. So I got this candy shop at AC Moore, and I went back thinking, well, they'll have some more. They had one skein, or one cake, and the cake that they had a lot of the blue in it, and a little bit of this color, and it was knotted, had like 3 or 4 knots. So I'm like, I'm not going to get it there, so I ordered some, and I have some more skeins coming. I figured 2 more skeins to make this the size that I want to, but I went ahead and got 3 just in case, or cakes. Skeins, cakes. I am also doing another bunny, and this is with the Lion Brand Thick and Quick. And I am at the point now where I need to embroider the nose and put the eyes in. And I'm glad that I did Valerie's Chubby Bunny, because she talks about feeling for the stitches. And I find that very helpful working with this Thick and Quick. And I am not a fan of Lion Brand Thick and Quick or Homespun, or as I call it, Hellspun. This is Thick and Quick Hellspun. But I like the look of the bunny, so I'm doing that in that. Another acquisition that I got. Our Walmart has never had this color in. This is the Grenadine, so I did get a skein of that. And if you guys have gone over to see Rachel of the Cozy Corner Crochet, she has finished the poof. She talked about the mistakes that are made in the poof. It is a free pattern. If you go and look on it for Ravelry, then you can go to the creator's blog and get a copy of the pattern free, where I apparently has the corrections in it. So, Summer of Summer's Tips and Stitches is doing the willow blanket, or willow blocks. But I thought, that's not enough to do a blanket. It might make a nice table runner. So I've been contemplating what I was going to do with these little skeins, because they are little tiny skeins. And I have decided I am going to turn them all into baby hats. So I'm going to start working on that this week, working on baby hats. So that's what those are going to go for. I wanted to wait to see what the poof looked like. I'm not a real big fan of poofs. And really the apartment that I have is extremely small. So there just would not be enough room for a poof. The only other thing that I want to talk about is I talked about connections and people. And I know that many of you are aware that we have had someone in our community that has had a great loss, a great tragedy in their family. And I know in my past I've had tragedies, and I have always been grateful for people who say they are praying for me, lighting candles, wishing good thoughts. So I would hope that everyone would just do that in a general way. Put it out there in the universe for good vibes for all of us. Because, we can all use them. Regardless of where we're at, we can use positive vibrations, positive thoughts. And I just want to let this person know I'm with you, honey. And what I'm going to tell you, having had a loss myself that is very deep and personal, there will be good days and there will be bad days. There will be days when you go into the bathroom, into the shower, and you will bawl your eyes out. And part of the reason I am tearing up is because of that emotion that comes from loss. My daughter's birthday is at the end of this month, on the 31st. And as many of you know, I lost her 9 years ago. She passed away. And you can see the hurt is still very raw. And as we get closer to her birthday, I feel those things bubble up even more. So to the person in our community that has suffered this big loss, don't be afraid to let it loose. Don't be afraid to cry. And don't be afraid to reach out to others. Because that has been a saving grace for me. Having others just offer up and be willing to just listen when you need to talk, regardless of what you want to talk about. So feel free to hit any of us up. I think you know we're all very willing and caring, and we pray for you and your family at this time, and we'll continue to. So, let me wipe my tears, get a drink, and we'll get into what in tarnation. It's just some coffee, some real deep roasted Colombian dark. My husband's on this kick with the dark. Oh, the only other thing I wanted to say is, if any of you have looked at Fiberflux, she is doing the soap sacks, and I have quite a bit of cotton yarn. So I am going to be doing soap sacks, but I am going to donate them locally. You can knit or crochet, and you can find out about that on soapsacks.com. We have a couple of stories, and some of them are kind of interesting. Some of them are a little funny. Let me get them in their order. We'll get into it. The first one is one that's very serious. I do have family members that do a little token, a little ganja. And this is one big concern that I have been seeing, and I know some of the doctors I've talked with have seen this quite often, so we might want to talk about it. And it's a mysterious syndrome in which marijuana users get violently ill, and researchers are starting to really worry about it. This has been going on for about the past 12 years, but we're seeing an uptick, an increase in it. So, something to think about it. A growing number of people are reporting symptoms that align with a mysterious illness called cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, or CHS. Although previously assumed to be very rare, it may affect a large number of frequent marijuana users, which this new study talks about. Most people who are diagnosed with it experience nausea, severe vomiting, and stomach pain. Many of them get temporary relief from hot showers or baths. And Mrs. X knew something was wrong when she burned herself in the bath for the third time. The Australian woman whose experience was documented anonymously in a case study, had experienced sudden and severe episodes of illness for 9 years. She'd get nauseous and feel like the room was spinning, which was followed by violent vomiting and severe stomach pains. As it turned out, she had a mysterious syndrome that doctors are now beginning to recognize. Cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, or CHS, appears to occur in people who use marijuana frequently for years. Aside from quitting marijuana, there are no known treatments. Mrs. X told her doctors that soothing herself with a warm bath was like magic. Her symptoms seemed to melt away into the warm tub, but as soon as the water began to cool, her symptoms crept back. It felt like she couldn't get the water hot enough. She learned to progressively heat the water, preferring to stay in the bath as long as she could. But one day the water got too hot. She emerged with red skin and a bad burn. The third time it happened, she ended up in the hospital. Mrs. X was eventually diagnosed with CHS. Patients who get it usually experience a very upset stomach in connection to frequent heavy marijuana use. Mrs. X's case report, along with those 9 other people with similar symptoms, was published in a 2004 medical journal. It was the first time the set of symptoms was given a name. Until now, cases were considered incredibly rare, but now it shows it is on the rise. The worst part may be the patients have no idea that cannabis may be causing their symptoms, since paradoxically, weed is sometimes used to treat nausea. As marijuana has become a little more legal in a lot of places, you're seeing those things creep up more. Hospitals, doctors are seeing more cases of it, but it does disappear as soon as you stop using marijuana. So, it's kind of interesting that that is happening and that folks are seeing more of it. But it can be a problem because for many people, the only medication that does work for the nausea is marijuana. When I was working on the infectious disease floor, many of the doctors in infectious disease advocate for their patients that were HIV/AIDS to actually consume marijuana because it would help keep their food intake up, and it also eased many of the symptoms that they were having from HIV/AIDS infections. So, it's going to get you one way or the other. But I just thought that was interesting. Now, from Hawaii, apparently there was a judge that told a person they needed to stop drinking Pepsi. The name of this is No Hard Time for Soft Drink Excuse. A judge suggested a Kahului man refrain from drinking Pepsi after he told police he was going to the store to buy soda when he was caught driving a stolen car. Second Circuit Judge Rondalu made the suggestion Friday while sentencing. I'm not going to name his name. He had pleaded no contest to unauthorized control of a propelled vehicle and driving without a license. When he was arrested at 11:30 p.m. for stealing a 1990 Honda Accord from an uptown Texaco, he told various fibs and various lies, the judge said. She noted that he had told the police his cousin had allowed him to drive the car and that he was going to Foodland, Kehalani, to buy soda, even though the Texaco sold soft drinks. Could have got him right there where he was at. You didn't want to admit that you actually stole the vehicle, Lou told the fella. Is it because the soda made you do it? I've heard a lot of people addicted to meth. I've heard a lot of people addicted to alcohol. This is the first time I've heard of a Coca-Cola addiction. I'm sure the soda didn't make you steal the vehicle. A plea agreement between the defense and prosecution recommended probation and no additional time for the fella. He spent 7 days in custody after the arrest, but he didn't show up for his original sentencing. He was arrested and spent another 3 months in jail before being sentenced Friday. His attorney had learned the importance of complying with the law during the additional time he spent in jail. The fellow did. I'm not going to steal cars anymore. I don't want to be in jail no more. He said he was going to get a job. When Judge Lou asked him what kind of soda he was addicted to, he said Pepsi. It's the Pepsi deprivation syndrome. As part of his probation, he was ordered to perform 100 hours of community service and pay a $100 fine. This next is a service announcement for those of you in South Florida. Poisonous buffalo toads infesting South Florida. They are spreading in the South Florida city because it is plagued by thousands of poisonous toads. These are the cane toads. Experts say the amphibians are buffalo toads, also known as cane toads. Residents in the infested Palm Beach Gardens neighborhood worry toxins secreted by the toads will harm their pets and children. News stations broadcast images of the small toads clogging pool filters, hopping en masse across driveways and sidewalks, and lurking in landscaped lawns. Many people are actually calling pest control a pest removal service. And I thought most of those were just for the crocodiles, alligators that, get out there. I have a hard time remembering whether they're crocodiles or alligators in Florida. I'm sorry. But said that the recent rains coupled with warm temperatures sent the amphibians into a breeding cycle, and there are likely even more toads coming in the next few weeks. So beware of the cane toads. This next one comes from Anchorage, Alaska. U.S. Air Force pilots struggle to explain mystery UFO seen falling from the sky. The footage filmed in Anchorage appears to show a mysterious object plunging to the ground with a trail of thick smoke behind it. A UFO seen plummeting towards Earth has left U.S. Air Force bosses baffled. Footage filmed in the Anchorage in the U.S. state of Alaska shows what looks like 2 plumes of black smoke trailing a mysterious object which appears to have a light guiding its way. A variety of military aircraft operate out of the nearby Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson. But spokesman Aaron Eaton said the sighting has nothing to do with them. That doesn't look like any of our planes, she said. Officials from the Federal Aviation Administration added that the object in the video was not an aircraft and that it hadn't received any reports of aviation issues at the time, but some experts still think a plane is the likeliest explanation. Peter Davidson, director of the Washington-based National UFO Reporting Center, said that the video showed a high-altitude jet airliner with a contrail behind it. It is in level flight, but because it is flying away from the camera, it appears to be falling. It is not, but parallax makes it look that way. Adonis Ball, who shot the video, was not convinced. The 18-year-old said the object looked like something coming into the atmosphere. Me and my mom were just coming in to the parking lot of our house, and that's when we noticed that something was falling from the sky. Thought it was a meteor or something coming into the atmosphere. I actually never saw anything like this before. Another witness, B.B. Kang, agreed. Didn't look like an airplane or one of those jets. It was big, super slow, and red. I really just thought it might be an asteroid. Aircraft operating out of the Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson include F-22 Raptor stealth fighters, C-130 Hercules, C-17 Globemaster III transports, and E-3 Sentry AWACS command jets. Now, you can actually go see the footage that this fella filmed at the Mirror. But that is a photo of what the object looks like, right there. So you can see it's pretty interesting. And that is it for today. So I will see you again soon. Bye.